Now, that research did not stop here, so I went on and asked through a web-based questionnaire as well as in-depth interviews with customers about their opinion towards the application of revenue management practices, and I got some mixed results. On one hand, customers do believe that there is an impact. However, the impact could be lessened if they were given information on pricing strategies. So if customers could relate why the prices quoted are varying across their stays or across different times, they would relate better and would perceive the practice as more fair, and they would understand an increase in rate. And therefore, 57% of those customers who could not make a booking because of price had really negative behavioral intentions. 68 were unlikely to repurchase from that chain, at least for a short period of time. 56% are unlikely to recommend this chain to others, and 59% are unlikely to say positive things. And that leads us to a conclusion of informing customers about the pricing policies, whereby we could provide them with information why the price is increasing because of any event or because of any other factor that will help them understand the practice, and as well understand their internal reference price. And by that I mean customers, whenever they're looking into a price, they always compare it to something, and what we call this thing is a reference price. They build that reference price either through communication, that they hear about the company specifically from competitors and from previous purchases. So once we understand what is their reference price, we can better set our prices so that it doesn't really overcome the reference price, and therefore the price would be perceived as unfair from the customer's opinion. Another finding was how did price affect their fairness perception. And 53.5% of customers perceived the price to be fair when they could link it to external causes, things that are not related to the company, such as conferences and events being held in town that would be fair for them to understand an increase in price. Days of the week whereby midweek could be more busier because of business and weekends might be slower, therefore a cheaper price could be provided. So prices the external factors led to customers understanding better the practice and perceiving it as fairer. Another theme that emerged was the familiarity with revenue management practices. As revenue management has been applied for a long time in the airline industry, customers have got to understand the concept of revenue management, even though it has taken quite a while to accept its practice within the hotel industry. However, customers who were familiar with those revenue management practices, either because of frequent travel, have exhibited positive behavioral intentions, which was in a way indicating that you could educate customers by providing them this information about the practice, which will increase their fairness perception about it, and therefore they will be less inclined to take this practice negatively in the future. And it appeared as well that perceived unfairness, so the way they look at practices in terms of price or length of stay, would decline in time should they be more and more involved with this practice in the future. Now, at the end, all of that looked quite positive, as customers in general were likely to repurchase, recommend, and say positive things about the company. And all of that was related to providing positive information or providing information about pricing and policies to customers so that they can understand why quoted prices are differing across their stays, accepting the revenue management practice by educating customers, which would increase their fairness perception. What does it mean to managers? Well, on the implementation point of view, there should be a cautious approach towards implementing revenue management in the company so that building a yield culture could be provided, as well as considering cross-cultural differences that could exist between a country and another. Customers' education about revenue management is relevant. This could be done in different ways. If customers are booking online, maybe a description of the rates is suggested so that customers become aware of the practice. And if they're booking directly with the hotel, then the reservation agent should provide further information about the rates. Revenue management should be viewed as an integrated management practice, not only a practice that will yield high revenues, but also a practice that doesn't overlook customers' profitability, value, and relationship with the company. And finally, the significance and value of customers. Those customers, when they come often to the company, they do not only engage in room purchases, but in a total kind of purchases in your restaurants, banquet services, golf, if you have this facility, etc. So understanding their total value through applying a total revenue management would mean a lot, especially that those customers will recommend your chain to the others and will engage into more profits to the company through that. And this leads us to the conclusion of moving from inventory-focused revenue management, where you only think internally about your inventory and your price setting, towards moving to the customer. So focusing on customer-centric revenue management, where the customer becomes the center of the equation for revenue management. And exploring the customer value in terms of ancillary revenue streams and customer lifetime value. How much is the customer willing to spend or to stay with our company, and how does that contribute to our profitability as well, is the essence or should become the essence of revenue management. Thank you.
So after what we heard from Rania, who think that revenue management is bad for customers?
No.
Everybody think it's good for customers? Who think it's good for customers? So you don't think it's good or bad? Basically, for me personally, it's mind-boggling to see that people, when they do a trip, almost 92% of travelers, they use hotel and airline. They go on the airline and they buy the ticket, advance purchased, with massive restrictions if they get cheaper price. And if they cancel or change, they pay a penalty. However, if you come in hotels and say, well, you have to pay, no cancellation, no change, you will not accept that, right? So you would be sitting in an airplane, doesn't have a beach view or back view, doesn't have a large size or marble bath or anything different from the person next sitting to you. And if you always ask the people sitting next to you in an airplane with the same seat, the price variance is always very large. And people accepted that. But not in hotel industry. Why? Why not? Whose mistake? I mean, I saw in one of the slides, Rania talked about 68% of the people, when they were asked, they said when they are rejected, they said 68% they are unlikely to repurchase. My question will be, where is he going to repurchase anyhow or no? So are they really a repeat customer for this chain?